The Random Jottings of Donald J. in Nelson in Pendle, Lancashire. The Ghost of John Paslew Whalley, former abbey, now a conference centre haunting manifestation. This former abbot still reportedly drifts around the area. Plainchant has also been reported coming from the site as it sits empty at night. The conference centre at Whalley Abbey was bustling with activity during the day, with meetings, presentations and workshops filling up the schedule. But as night fell, the building emptied out, and the eerie silence took over. That's when the ghost of John Paslew would make his presence felt. The staff had heard the stories and legends about the haunting, but most of them dismissed it as nothing more than folklore. However, there were a few who claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of a man in a long, flowing robe, wandering the corridors of the conference centre. One of the cleaners, Maria, was particularly spooked by the stories. She had been working at Whalley Abbey for years, and had always felt uneasy about being there alone at night. But she had no choice but to face her fears and clean the empty conference rooms. One night, as she was cleaning up after a particularly long day of meetings, she heard the sound of chanting coming from down the hallway. She froze in fear, not sure if she should investigate or run away. But then she saw the figure of a man in a long robe walking towards her, and she knew she had no choice but to face the ghost of John Paslew. As he got closer, Maria noticed that he was carrying a book, and she realized that he was reciting a prayer. His face was stern and serious, but his eyes were kind and gentle. He didn't seem to notice her at first, but as he got closer, he acknowledged her presence with a nod. Maria mustered up the courage to speak to the ghostly figure. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I am John Paslew, the last abbot of Whalley Abbey," he replied, still holding the book in his hand. Maria was fascinated by the ghostly abbot, and she asked him to tell her more about his life and his beliefs. Paslew spoke of his faith and his devotion to the Catholic Church, but he also spoke of his flaws and his mistakes. He admitted that he had been a sinful man, and that his behavior had not always been in line with his religious teachings. Maria listened intently, feeling a sense of compassion and understanding for the haunted abbot. She realized that Paslew was not just a ghost, but a complex and ambiguous figure, whose story had been distorted by history. From that day on, Maria no longer felt afraid of the ghost of John Paslew. Instead, she felt a sense of reverence for the man who had lived and died in the very same building where she now worked. She would often hear his ghostly chanting as she cleaned the conference rooms at night, and she would smile, knowing that she was not alone. By Donald J.